The Incredible Hulk is a 2008 American superhero film based on the Marvel comic character the Hulk. Produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Universal Pictures, it is the second film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was directed by Louis Leterrier from the screenplay by Zak Penn and stars Edward Norton as Bruce Banner alongside Liv Tyler, Tim Roth, Tim Blake Nelson, Ty Burrell, and William Hurt. In the film, Bruce Banner becomes Hulk as an unwitting pawn in a military scheme to reinvigorate the super soldier program through gamma radiation. Banner goes on the run from the military while attempting to cure himself of the Hulk. After mixed reception to Universal's 2003 film Hulk, Marvel Studios reacquired the rights to the character, though Universal retained the distribution rights. Leterrier, who had expressed interest in directing Iron Man for Marvel, was brought on board, and Penn began work on a script that would be much closer to the comics and the 1978 television series of the same name. In April of 2007, Norton was hired to portray Banner and rewrite Penn's screenplay. His script positioned the film as a reboot of the series, distancing it from the 2003 film to give the new version its own identity. Norton was ultimately not credited for his writing. Filming took place from July to November 2007, primarily in Toronto, Canada, with additional filming taking place in New York City and Rio de Janeiro. Over 700 visual effects shots were created in post-production using a combination of motion capture and the computer-generated imagery to complete the film. The Incredible Hulk premiered at the Gibson Amphitheatre in Universal City, California on June 8, 2008 and was released in the United States on June 13th as part of Phase 1 of the MCU. It received praise for its action sequences and was considered an improvement over the 2003 film, but was criticized as generic and lacking in depth. The film grossed $264.8 million worldwide, making it the lowest-grossing film of the MCU. Norton disagreed with Marvel over the final edit of the film and was later replaced in the role of Banner by Mark Ruffalo for future MCU content, starting with Avengers in 2012. Now, the cast includes Edward Norton as Bruce Banner, a nuclear physicist and biochemist at Culver University who, because of exposure to gamma radiation, transforms into an enormous green humanoid monster when enraged or agitated. David Duchovny was the front-runner for the role before Norton's casting, whilst Louis Leterrier's original choice for the role was Mark Ruffalo, who of course later would play Banner in the future Marvel Cinematic Universe films. Gail Ann Hurd recalled Norton's portrayal of duality in Primal Fear and Fight Club, while Norton reminded Kevin Feige of Bill Bixby, who played Banner for the TV series. Lou Ferrigno, who played the Hulk, remarked Norton had a similar physique and a similar personality. Norton was a Hulk fan, citing the first comic series, the Bixby TV show, and Bruce Jones's run on the comic as his favourite depictions of the character. He expressed the interest in the role for the first film. He initially turned down the part, recalling there was a wins factor of the defensive part of you that recoils at what the bad version of what that would be, as he felt the previous film strayed a far field from the story that was familiar to people, which is a fugitive story. When he met Leterrier and Marvel, he liked the version and believed that they were looking to him to guide the project. Thus Norton rewrote the script. Edward's script has given Bruce's story real gravitas, Leterrier said. Admittedly, I'm not the most adult director. And just because we're making a superhero movie, it doesn't mean it just has to appeal to 13-year-old boys. Ed and I both see superheroes as the new Greek gods. Lou Ferrigno provides the vocal performance as the Hulk. During the 2008 New York Comic Con, Leterrier publicly offered Ferrigno the chance to voice the Hulk for the film. This marks the third time Ferrigno portrayed the Hulk, having also voiced the character in the 1996 animated series. Originally, the Hulk only's line was Betty at the film's ending, which would have been his first word. Leterrier was aware that fans wanted him to speak normally and added "Leave me alone" and "Hulk smash." The latter line received cheers during the screening as he attended. Ferrigno also has a cameo in the film as a security guard who's bribed by Banner with pizza. Then we have Liv Tyler as Betty Ross, a cellular biologist and Bruce's former girlfriend, from whom he is separated as a result of his condition. Tim Roth as Emil Blonsky, or Abomination, a Russian-born officer in the United Kingdom's Royal Marine Commandos loaned to Ross, who is lusting for Hulk's power, is injected with various serums that transforms him into a near-skeletal humanoid monster as strong as Hulk himself. Tim Blake Nelson as Samuel Stearns, a cellular biologist who develops a possible antidote to Banner's condition. Towards the end of the film, Stearns is exposed to some substance that begins the transformation into the leader. And William Hurt as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, Betty's father and a US Army general who's dedicated himself to capturing the Hulk, no matter the cost. Now, as a film, The Incredible Hulk may be one of the weaker MCU interpretations. It may not be quite the smashing success that fans of Marvel's raging behemoth might have hoped for, but it offers more than enough big green action to make up for its occasionally punitive narrative, all par for the course cinematic demolition and destruction, staged efficiently and without a hint of enthusiasm, and penned with the occasional sporadic wit. Now, Ang Lee's Hulk, done in 2003 with Eric Bana playing the lead role, was maligned by critics, although I personally actually preferred it in its darker tone comparative to this one, which is much lighter and faster paced. It's also funnier and embraces instead of ignoring the 1970s TV series that furthered the character's popularity. What lingers in my memory, though, is the lengthy, essential animated cinematic battle between Hulk and the Abomination on the streets and the rooftops of Harlem, and an earlier showdown between the titled creature and the US Army, which is deploying high-tech weapons including soundwave cannons. These are expertly staged by the director Louis Leterrier, who disposes of the backstory under the opening credits and wraps up the whole story in just 24 minutes. The Incredible Hulk is no doubt an ideal version of the Hulk saga for those who found Ang Lee's Hulk too talky, or dare I say, too thoughtful. But not for me. It sidesteps the intriguing aspects of the Hulkdom and spends way too much time, as I dare say, in the noisy, mindless action sequences. And despite the casting of Edward Norton, an actor as capable of going deep and really adding nuance to this fantastic character, we don't really feel a strong sense of Bruce Banner's inner conflict. Leterrier has a style, he's good with the action, and he's eager enough to give the audience its money's worth of bone-crunching battles, but he just lacks the sort of emotion that I feel really adds to the Hulk character. And naturally, this movie draws comparisons to Iron Man, Marvel Studios' first blockbuster, which of course was done so perfectly. This film, though, just lives in the shadow of that one. Still, once the movie leaves the atmospheric Brazilian settings at the start, nothing in this Hulk sinks in deeply. Its familiar genre pleases all on the surface, but it's almost if the filmmakers were afraid to delve deeper into this character's psyche. For at the end of the day, the Hulk story is actually a tragic one. It's a sad story of a man lost in his own scientific experiment, never being able to be normal, living in fear of himself, submersing his anger. For me, one of the best performances in the film is Tim Blake Nelson, making a comically welcomed third act appearance as the unethical but madly enthusiastic scientist Samuel Stearns. Overall, this movie is a disappointment, particularly when you think how good the MCU series has gotten over the last few years. For me, casting an actor like Edward Norton would have been the ideal choice initially, but for some reason, he just doesn't find a way to become one with the character. I still can't say I've ever loved Mark Ruffalo's take on the Hulk either, and I've never really found the MCU has really gotten the character as perfectly as I feel Ang Lee did in the 2003 film. But in saying that though, the later version is far better than the one represented in this movie. Action-packed, fun, but without any sort of depth. The Incredible Hulk gets a 6.5 out of 10.